God was shaking my life because I wasn't in His will. I wasn't in His will, and it wasn't because I was cursed. It wasn't because others hated me. It wasn't that I was less than anyone else. It wasn't because I was incompetent in what I was doing. These are all the lies that I had believed. And it didn't even matter my competence, etc. God was shaking my life because God wanted me to move. He wanted me to move from that place towards His higher calling. And though I don't know how or can't prove that, the wreckage that came from the enemy, or either, I don't know if it was from the enemy or it was from directly from God, but either way, God allowed it. And I can't prove that, it was from the enemy or him or whatever, but everything that happens to us in our lives, God is in control. He allows things to happen. They normally said the devil tempts you, but God tests you. And whether it was temptation from the enemy or whether God was testing me, one thing I'm sure one thing I'm sure of is that God, like, He used it to steer me in the right direction. For years, for the years, He continued to tell me that through various means, His word, dreams. I have so many dreams, numerous dreams, and even my own experiences, because at this point I was able to see the deterioration at the church. And a lot of times when God is calling you, or He wants you to live a life that reaches people and calling you to redemption, calling you to help through redemption, He's going to open your eyes. And that's exactly what God did, because now I was able to see the ailment of the church. I could see, God made it clear to me. He opened my eyes and He gave me that spiritual vision to see the need in the church. I was now able to see that the older folks were dying from the church. And prior to that, before my spiritual eyes were open, I wasn't able to see that. I wasn't able to see that. I wasn't able to decipher. I wasn't able to see the difference between a deteriorated church and a church, But God opened my eyes. I could see that the older people are dying and there was no young people to take over. I could see that there is a need here for somebody to take up this mantle, for somebody to lead in this aspect. So God was opening my eyes to let me see what was happening. But then my insecurities and inadequacies and personal feelings, they hugged me so tightly that I couldn't step into what God wanted me to do. My fear of being seen held me back. I had this fear of being seen. Fear was my biggest enemy. My biggest enemy. I was afraid of showing my vulnerability, my quirks, my shortcomings. And even when God told me, He confirmed that I was ready, I couldn't come in agreement with His assurance. Somehow, I put myself first, my feelings, my pride above the will of God, not realizing how much I'm crippling myself. I'm crippling His will and His plan for redemption. Then God would hurt my feelings. And He let me know, I'm not afraid to hurt your feelings. I'm not afraid to hurt your feelings, to see you go the right way and to see you grow. God wanted me to grow. And he's such a loving dad that he's never been shy of hurting my feelings to ensure my growth. He said, Kalia, one of my greatest weakness, he said, Kalia, one of your greatest weakness is independence. And eventually showed me how much of an idol this independence can become and the burden it can cause me to solely bear. And I've always been steadfast on being self-sufficient, not wanting to burden anyone or remain in the gutter of poverty without realizing how much prideful and deceiving it can become, and how much it can allow me to become so self-centered and just focus on my plan, on my goals, not realizing or paying attention to what God would want me to do, or where he would want me to go, or see the things that he would want me to see. But God, being that loving dad, he chastens and he takes away so that I could realize I don't have to do it alone, because I can rest and be sufficient in his sufficiency. God didn't just say he'll supply some of our needs. He said he'll supply all of our needs and all of our riches in glory. And he never said that we will walk this journey alone, but he said that he will always be there. And a lot of times when we see that one set of footprints in the sand, it is God who is carrying us. So I knew that a lot of what was taking place, or a lot of what was taken from me, no matter how painful it may have been, no matter how painful it may have been and felt, it was because God wanted me to yield to his way and to grow. God wants us to grow. God wants us to grow. He wants us to come in alignment with him and let him show us what he can do and where he can take us if we just let go. You know, God wants you and I to grow. Yeah.